Chapter 3, Quadratic Equations and Complex Numbers. 3.1, Solving Quadratic Equations with Algebra, page 94 through 98. Concept number 1, Solving using square roots. Okay, so here's where you would solve by isolating your x squared all by itself and then taking the square root of both sides. Alright, so no matter what, you want to isolate that x squared first and then solve by taking the square root. Here we go. So in this first one, a 4x squared minus 31 plus 49. I'm going to add 31 to both sides. You get 4x squared equals 80. Divide by 4 to both sides. X squared equals 20. Take the square root of both sides. When do you do that? The square root of x squared is just x. That will generate a positive and negative sign. And basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to break this, the square root of 20, into the square root of 4 times the square root of 5. Why do I choose those two numbers and not 2 and 10? Well, I choose that because the square root of 4 is a perfect square, and I can pull that out of the radical. Alright, so x equals positive and negative. The square root of 4 is 2, and then left with the square root of 5, and voila, I have my answer. Now, I really could have broken it up to 2 and 10, and then broken up 10 to 2 and 5, and I'd have pairs of 2's. And if I have pairs of 2's, again, like I could pull out a 2. So I'm looking for perfect squares or pairs of 2. No matter what way you factor it out, it's going to work in the end. Alright? B. What I'm going to do is subtract 9 from both sides of the equation. I get 3x squared equals negative 9. Divide by 3 to both sides. X squared equals negative 3. I take the square root to both sides of the equation. And x equals, well, positive negative, yes, but look, what's the square root of a negative? Well, I'm looking for groups of 2, right? So if I do negative 3 times negative 3, I actually get positive 9. That was not really a good example, but no matter what I multiply with, I can't get a negative in there. So this is going to give me no real solution. No real solution. Which is really kind of bringing us back again to algebra, right? Where we talk about no real solutions available. Well, when we get into this chapter 3, starting with section 3.2, we are going to get into imaginary solutions. So for 3.1, we're going to start here, but basically this is the only time we're going to use this no real solution. C. Okay, so I have 2/5 times the quantity of x plus 3 squared minus 5. Well, this is still a quadratic, right? That x minus x plus 3 squared is really telling me I have an x squared. And that's really what I want to isolate. So in order for me to isolate this, I am going to multiply by the reciprocal of 2/5, which is 5 halves to both sides. 2's will cross out, 5's will cross out, giving me 1 on this side, leaving me with 1 times the quantity of x plus 3 squared. And that's really what I wanted, and now I isolated this x squared, even though it's a binomial squared. Over here, I multiply 5 times 5, I get 25 over 2. And then what I'm going to do is solve by taking the square root. So I square root both sides of the equation. On the left-hand side, I am left with the quantity of x plus 3. That radical sign and that power 2 cancel out. On this side, I am left with positive and negative. Well, this is really the same thing as the square root of 5 over the square, or 25, I'm sorry, over the square root of 2. And, shoot. And the square root of 25 is 5 over square root of 2. Okay, but this is not really okay. All right, and the reason this is not okay is we have a radical in the denominator, and that is not in simplest radical form, which kind of is outdated today with calculators. We can do this pretty easily, but just general math, we don't want radicals in our denominator. We call it rationalizing the denominator. And in order for me to get rid of that radical, I'm going to multiply by something to make it a perfect square. In this case, 2 times 2 is 4, which is a perfect square, so I get the square root of 4. So I get 5 root 2 over the square root of 4. Square root of 4 is 2. And now I got rid of that radical in the denominator. So now I'm going to go ahead and subtract 3, but I'll write it again here. X plus 3 equals positive and negative 5 root 2 over 2. I'm going to subtract 3 from both sides, and I think I'm just going to leave it like that. I could make common denominators, but x equals positive and negative 5 root 2 over 2 minus, I can make it 3 over 2, but I'm just going to make it minus 3 and kind of leave it in this form. If you had x equals positive and negative 5 root 2 over 2 minus, it would be 6 halves, then I could simplify that to x equals positive and negative 5 root 2 minus 6 all over 2. But I'm not totally sure that this is simpler than this. Alright, and that's really the idea when you want to make it simplest form, which is better. I kind of believe this one is. Just depends on who you ask, maybe, for some of them. Alright, please go ahead and try 2, A, B, and C. Pause now, give it a go. I'm going to go ahead and show the answers here. Okay, so 2A, x equals positive and negative 2 root 7. 2B, no real numbers, no real solution, something like that. And C would be x equals negative 1 plus or minus 2 root 30 over 3, or plus or minus 2 root 30 over 3 minus 1. Okay, moving on, our next concept here. I'm going to use this one because it's kind of highlighted here. It says the zero product property. And this is this really easy concept that is actually so useful in mathematics. It's crazy. So here's the concept. If a product of two expressions is 0, then one or both of the expressions is equal to 0. Alright, so as long as I'm multiplying by 0, it's going to give me 0. So if A and B are expressions, and A times B equals 0, then A equals 0 or B equals 0. One of them has to equal 0. Or both could be equal to 0. Okay, so there's the idea right there, the zero product property. Okay, and with the zero product property, it gives me the ability to solve quadratics by factoring. Alright, and what you want to do is you want to isolate 0 on one side of the equation. So in this case, I have x squared minus 4x equals 45. I want to get 0 on one side of the equation, and then I can go back and solve for x by factoring. So I'm going to subtract 45 from both sides of the equation. I get x squared minus 4x minus 45 equals 0. And now, if I factor this trinomial, factoring is kind of taking it into parts of multiples, I go like this. What times what is x squared? Well, it has to be x times x is x squared. And then the outside is going to give me negative 45. So I know it has to be a positive times a negative to give me 45. What are multiples of 45? 1 and 45, 3 and 15, 9 and 5. Looks like it to me. Okay, so which one of these has a difference of 4? Well, it's 9 and 5. And if I put the 9 with the negative and the 5 with the positive, negative 9 and positive 5 is negative 4. And there are my factors. And then, once I have that, I can solve for x by setting each factor equal to 0. And solving. So if I subtract 5 on this side, I get x equals negative 5. And if I add 9 on this side, I get x equals positive 9. And therefore, I solved for x. Now it has two different solutions. If I plug them in here, you'll see negative 5 plus 5 is 0, and then negative 5 and negative 9 is negative 14. 0 times negative 14 is still 0, right? And if I put it up here, negative 25, or negative 5 squared is 25. And then if I have negative 4 times negative 5, that's positive 20. 25 plus 20 is 45. It works. If I put 9 squared here, I get 81. And then 9 times 4 is 36. 81 minus 36 is 45. And it works. So I like to write my answers like this: negative 5 and 9. And I express my solutions. And voila. We have solved for x. Okay, go ahead and flip it up and solve for number 4. Pause now. Okay. Number 4, your solutions are negative 8 and 6. Negative 8 and 6. Pause it and take a look at that if you need. I'm going to go ahead and get past that. Alright, here we go. Concept number 3, finding the zeros of a quadratic equation. Well, this is the same idea. What we're going to do is solve by factoring. But this time they give you f of x. And really what they want you to know when they give you this f of x is that f of x actually equals 0. So then if I replace that, I get 2x squared minus 11x plus 12 equals 0. Okay. And what I want to do is solve by factoring. First, I'd always look for a greatest common factor, but 11 doesn't have, or negative 11 doesn't have factors, so that's not going to work. Okay. I'm going to start here. 1 and 2 equals 2. It's prime. I know I have to go 2x times x to give me 2x squared. There's no other options. Alright? Here is positive 12. So it either has to be a positive times a positive or a negative times a negative. And I know the answer by just looking here. It has to be a negative times a negative to give me that negative 11. What are factors of 12? 1 and 12, 2 and 6, 3 and 4. And now I have to plug these in to get negative 11. So if I put 12 here and 1 here, I get negative 2 minus 12, and that's negative 14. That doesn't work. It wouldn't work the other way. That one's no good. If I put this one here, 2 and 6, I get 12 minus 2, which is negative 14. If I do 2 and 6 here, I get 2 times 2, which is 10, minus 6, which is negative 10. That doesn't work either. So it has to be this one. If I put 3 and 4 here, that gives me 8 minus 3, and that, or negative 8 minus 3, and that's negative 11. And that is the correct answer. Alright, so now I take each factor, I set it equal to 0. 2x minus 3 equals 0, x minus 4 equals 0. Solve by adding 3. 2x equals 3, divide by 2, x equals 3 halves. Here I just add 4 to both sides, and I get 4, and there are my 2 solutions. Okay, pause it up, give number 6 a try. I'm going to show it right now. There we go. There is the answer. X equals 1/4 and 3. That is it. It's a pretty short unit. Mostly review from algebra. And my video is done. Peace.